Hi everyone, in this video we're going to talk about measuring angles with radians instead of with degrees. So people are generally a lot more comfortable with degrees and at least somewhat familiar with that. Radians are going to be a little bit weird, but they're going to be the thing that we use the most this quarter, and pretty much exclusively if you're in calculus, we're going to work with radians. I'll talk about why they're so nice mathematically as we get into them. So this is a little harder to visualize at first, but eventually we'll get to the same point as with degrees where we know how many radians are in a full circle and we can break it down into parts of that to make things a little bit easier. So the idea of 1 radian is it's the rotation it's the angle that's subtended by the radius of the circle, of a circle laid around its outside. So if we start with a circle, let me pick a pen. Start with a circle, any old circle, and we say, okay, so this is what the radius looks like. If we picked that length up and tried to lay it around the outside of the circle, so this is very approximate. Just imagine that this arc that I just put around is exactly the same as the radius of the circle. And then we laid another ray over here, so not that it matters, but that's also a radius of the circle. This angle in the middle right here, that's our theta, and that is the angle subtended by the radius of the circle laid along its circumference, and that is what 1 radian looks like. So that's a little weird, but again, if you just try and think about, I take the length of the radius, I wrap it around the outside of the circle, doesn't go super far, but that is 1 radian. So if you kind of get that, you can pause and you can try and down below here, you can try and do that yourself. See if you can draw 1 radian and then 2 radians, and then think about how many radians are in 1 revolution. So go ahead and pause if you're ready for it. Otherwise, we'll talk through this, and I do have a pretty nice demo. Okay, so again, if we look down here, we can put 1 radian in standard position. We can say, okay, this is the radius of my circle. If I take that length, which would be about like this, and I just kind of wrap it down around the circle, goes about here. There's my 1 radian. If I take another, roughly that same length r, and wrap it around the outside of the circle, it'll put me a little ways into quadrant 2. So that bigger angle is 2 radians. And you can keep going. If you did another one, it would put you not quite halfway around the circle. And again, that 3 radians is this entire internal angle here. It's not just your final point, it's actually the angle. Okay, so this becomes a really important question here. How many radians are in 1 revolution? So to reword that question, what we're really asking is, how many times can you wrap the radius around the outside of the circle? And that's actually a fact that we know, even though we might not have worded it that way before. We know that the circumference of a circle is 2 pi times the radius. So another, again, we're just rewording that a little bit. The circumference of the circle is the radius wrapped around 2 pi times. So there are 2 pi radians in 1 revolution, in 1 full revolution. So if you go all the way around, you get 2 pi radians. And then we can start to break that up into chunks, right? Which means, so that's the full circle. So halfway around would be half of 2 pi, which is pi radians. So remember when I was back over on this side drawing my radians, I said 3 would get you just short of halfway around. And this is how I know that fairly quickly. I know that to get exactly halfway around to here, you'd have to go pi radians. And remember, pi is about 3.14. There's this funny thing where people almost start to think, when we're doing this, people almost start to think about pi as like a unit or something. But remember, pi is a number. It's a little bigger than 3. So you just need a little bit more than 3 radians to get halfway around, which means 3 radians is going to land just shy of where we're at. Okay, let's see if I can follow my link from here. So this little link is in your notes, and it does just a really nice job of showing that. There's the radius wrapped around the outside. That angle right there is 1 radian. If you add another one on, there's 2, 3, and halfway around the circle is pi radians. So this is just a really nice way to visualize, and we can break it up into more chunks. So feel free to follow the link and watch that video if you just need to watch it worked out a couple more times. But 2 pi radians in a circle is kind of our key detail. Okay, we'll walk through some examples next, but I think that's good for now. Thanks for watching.